This is the most important show I've done in a long time. Please help me. Going to give you a little bit of an inside baseball thing here. I just had an argument on my staff with my team. You know why? Because I come from the old school. I think you should read the papers like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and see what is going on out there. So I'm reading some articles from the Epoch Times that you don't normally hear about. Marco Rubio saying he's got to expose Google because they're manipulating his emails. And there was a martyrdom of a young Christian woman in Nigeria with 50 police standing around watching. I said, these stories are important. We've got to cover them. I was told no one's going to watch this broadcast. No one's going to listen to this podcast because it's a snooze fest, because it's not TikTokian enough. I say, let's make a statement to that next generation. Let's tell them we have the capacity to cover the news in the old-fashioned way, like Rush used to do. I'm reading to you what's happening, and I think you're going to be interested in it. And by the way, Mercedes, I see on your desk foliage. And the one thing that we can agree on is that you have a green thumb. I disagree with some of your analysis of my news style.
Oh my gosh, now you've exposed it as me.
But okay, tell us what you've got there in your, it looks so hilarious.
I just put it on. So the way we do these episodes, you guys, is that we record the whole episode and then Lance does the intro. And so all at the end of this too, you can hear all about the lettuce grow system. But check it out. This is week 5. It's harvest time. And one of the guys in the back said, hey, put a hat and sunglasses on it. It could be a special guest.
Tell them what it is. It looks like it's full.
It's butter lettuce. It's here.
It's lettuce. It's not like.
It's not a special guest. It's a head of lettuce.
Oh.
Now look at the roots. Check out the roots. Isn't that cool?
It's a head of lettuce. It's just butter lettuce, right?
Yeah, this is butter lettuce. And so you can eat it, and it's great for salads, great for wraps, things like that. Like, let me put a part that doesn't have Jonathan's hat on it, but you can pull it right off and just eat it.
Amazing. Look at that. You didn't even wash it. I don't know. Don't you have to wash it?
No, it's fine.
What about those pesticides I'm spraying on it?
Guess what? No pesticides.
Oh.
No pesticides, because it's in my office. Actually, it's in our office. It's in the conference room. But so these grow in the tank, and then the tank pushes water up, trickles down, all the roots grow. Anyways, people are taking it home tonight. I'm sure people are going to be interested in it. But if you want it, if you want to find out how you can get it, go to lancewallnau.com/garden. Check it out. There's lots of different sizes, but this is one thing you should be thinking about.
Can we get a picture up?
Oh, yeah. They could put the picture up.
Put a picture up. Show people. It's even bigger than this. Was like a week ago. So we should take a current one, because the one on the right is even more.
They'll update it in post.
Oh, they will?
They'll see what it looks like later on. But anyways, yeah, I think it's going to be great. And I can't believe you exposed me as, listen, like, you're going to get into it. And you guys got to share this.
I want you to share this and like and subscribe. I want this to be the most popular podcast I've done all week, to make the point that we have a tolerance for Lance reading the news.
This is totally throwing it, though. But you know how we'll know? Because people don't realize this, but the average length people view, like on Facebook, it'll show you people listen to, like 60% of the people listen to 3 minutes of the broadcast. 90% of the people watch 1 minute or 1 minute of the broadcast.
Oh, so painful.
Very rarely do people watch the whole thing. So that's why I was a little concerned, because Lance literally reads the news. That's why I wanted to title this, Lance Reads the News. And, you know, I think your normal fans are going to hang in there, but I think that you've exhorted everyone enough to listen to the whole thing.
I think all of you in podcast land will appreciate the fact that I'm not just blathering on with exhortation, but I'm reading commentary that was thoughtful.
I think people come to you for your commentary, though, not for you to read the news. That's what I'm saying. I think your signature sound is the amazing things that you do at the whiteboard.
This is a test of the emergency broadcasting system. Sorry, we have to end this opening. And you want to enjoy this program. Tell me what you think. I'm looking for your comments supporting me. Bye-bye. All of this crap my hands under the law. Greetings, all of you, multitudes of the populist movement that is awakening all across the world. And greetings to you in Australia. They're watching because Australia is always giving me comments. Now, listen, we're covering some very important stuff today, and not the typical news broadcast, because we're actually I'm going to reveal some of my sources. Some of my sources, where people are always saying, where are you getting this information? I even read leftist publications and all kinds of liberal stuff, like, I don't know what you call The Spectator, but it's kind of institutional media. But, you've got to be reading what's coming out there. And I've got some stories for you that are going to blow your mind today. By the way, thanks for all the great feedback on the ExpressVPN. I started telling people about expressvpn.com/Lance because I found, like, when I was traveling around the world, I could get access to all kinds of sites and platforms and stuff. When it's locally locked up, I could still, like, get out. It's almost like having my own private little world connection. Then I found out when I was under government surveillance in China, they were actually Can you believe that communist China was watching what I was doing on the internet? That's when I said, I wish there was something, and I found it, to protect my digital autonomy. expressvpn.com/Lance is what I use, my friends use, my staff uses, in order to maintain some privacy while I'm doing searches on the mischievous antics of government. I don't want them knowing where I'm going. And not to mention, you get 3 months free when you use the expressvpn.com/Lance link. It's the Lancelot link. How about that? 3 months
Lance
free.
link, though. It's just...
It's Lance. I know.
Yeah.
/Lance.
/Lance, yeah.
Yes. You guys ever, my staff is all millennials, folks. They don't understand half of my jokes. How many of you remember Lancelot Link Secret Chimp? Do you guys remember that at all? You don't remember that, do you? Well, we'll get a picture. We'll put it up there. And then he had he was like a chimpanzee dressed up like a spy. And he'd go out and they had these chimpanzees doing all these, like, it was during Get Smart. And he would go out and do all these little, like, spy things. And he had a girl working with him. His name was Mata Hari. Yep. And she loved Lance. And she like, oh, hello, Lance. Anyway, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, forget it. Just forget it. You're probably all having your millennial anxieties about the impropriety of me even talking about a Lancelot Link Secret Chimp. For whatever reason, I could pick up the vibe in the room.
No, there's no vibe. I was just thinking I didn't want people to type in, because there's no link set up for that. Like, if people typed in Lance link.
No, it's expressvpn.com/Lance.
Okay.
Then I said it's a link. You can get 3 months free.
I said
it's a Lancelot link. And
yes.
It was I thought of.
Okay, I was just worried.
And I'm curious, Dad, do you happen to remember the name of the secret organization led by Commander Darwin that protects the world from wrongdoers?
Is that what it says for Lancelot Link?
Well, there's a certain organization that Mata Hari worked for as one of their top agents, and I'm curious, as a bit of trivia, if you remember the name of the organization.
Oh, I didn't know. Now you're getting information I did not know.
How about that? That millennial link.
Well, you're younger than millennial, aren't you? Are you a millennial?
No, unfortunately. Anyway, it is. Do you want me to tell you, or you want to?
Yes, please.
It's APE. It's the Agency to Prevent Evil.
Ooh, the Agency to Prevent Evil.
And on today's show, monkeypox.
And on speaking of,
there's your segue.
There's a great segue. The deal with monkeypox. I'm telling you something. This is a. I don't know if you can even put that meme up. I don't see why you can. I think it's going to be a great trending meme. You can't put the meme up. There's so many memes that are so funny. I never know what to put up. Anyway, the problem with monkeypox is the monkey business that's going on, because they got these two LGBTQ festivals that went on in Europe, and that's the origin of the monkeypox. They traced the 30 people that are carriers of it, all who engaged in salacious sexual exchange activities that can be traced back to the origin of the monkeypox. This is not like the Wuhan leak, where it's like the bioweapons lab. This case, it's coming from the gay pride festivities in Europe. And now you're going to have a whole month of LGBTQ gay pride month. I don't know who authorizes these things. Congress is so weak and wimpy. They go, whatever the trending topic is. I wonder if there is a great awakening that happens in America, if they're suddenly going to have a Celebrate Jesus month. I could just see that would just create a gag reflex all throughout the liberal ranks of the Hill, which might be exactly what they need, a massive deliverance.
You're meaning because June is Gay Pride Month?
Gay Pride Month. I think we need to have a happy heterosexual month. Happy Het Month. Why not? There's a lot of happy heterosexuals.
I would like heterosexual merch, though. I haven't seen any. Like, if there's Rainbow Pride, like I follow this stuff at Disney, and so they have their whole new logo out. It's got rainbow, and they have all this merch. I was like, it would be nice to have like stuff like that for the other team. We don't have anything like that.
I'm in with that. But what I want to talk about is the Epoch Times. These are some of our sources. If you guys don't know who the Epoch Times is, the Epoch Times or Epoch Times, you guys can tell us in the chat thread what's the correct pronunciation. You know the origin of this? The origin of this was certain Chinese Americans who recognized that the Falun Gong philosophy and religion in China was targeted as an enemy of the state. Here's a religion which deals with self-control, composure, and mindfulness and health. And so here you've got the most innocuous, kind of Zen-like religion, but it was competing with the communist ideology because it was presented as a growing religion. So the nut jobs over there, just like in Washington, just like in Twinkle Toes Trudeau land up there in Quebec, they get crazy when they see there's competing systems that are competing with their power, which is why the populist movement is the punch we're going to deliver. And so the communists said, we're going to shut down the Falun Gong. And so they did a massive persecution. They started taking organ harvesting. You talk about how in the world can we even respect this country and let their leaders speak in any forum when we know they literally cut and carve the organs out of people of a religious group that they want to shut down in the country because they see it as a threat against their atheistic state values. Well, the Falun Gong actually, when that broke out, and there's like 100 million of those people over there, the people that are in the United States said, why isn't anybody covering this stuff? Why are we always flattering China? Epoch News is basically started by Christians in America that have the facts about what goes on in communist China. And they say, we better create you can't trust the LA Times, you can't trust the National Enquirer, you can't trust the Washington Post. So they created a news entity that does the most powerful, incisive, and disciplined scholastic research on all trending subjects and includes exposing China. That's why I love the Epoch Times. So anyway, for instance, on the front page of their paper, they covered a story none of you heard about. Now, I'm sorry to have to tell this to you, because while America is justifiably grieving over what happened with the school shooting, and I want to touch on that because Joe Rogan is hitting on it now, and when it gets to popular culture, and it's Joe Rogan, it's getting to populist culture. I want to talk to you about what Rogan says about the shooting. But Nigerian police stood by as a Christian student was stoned to death. So when you're thinking about Nigeria and these other countries, I want you to know something. There's so many Christians in Nigeria, but the Muslim-controlled, politically corrupt regions of the north are a blasphemy, and you should know what's going on. A so-called blasphemy killing and it wasn't even a Christian, it was a girl. How would this play? You women livers in America, Nigerian police stood by as a young Christian female was stoned to death by men. Not hearing a peep out of the left on this one. It's just not their story. But on May 12th, it occurred as 20 or 30 armed uniformed policemen were standing by but failed to intervene because they didn't want to get in the middle of a potential mob backlash. 50 uniformed police, including 6 Department of State security officers, were at the scene of the stoning to death of a Muslim student, a 22-year-old Deborah Emanuel. Her parents named her God With Us. And this girl dies, and nobody acted in her defense. Nobody intervened. And the only way they could get comments was anonymously. But Emmanuel's father, Garba Emmanuel, was in Sokoto that day, but didn't witness his daughter's death, according to Dr. Bola Adewara, a veteran journalist who's interviewed the woman's father. The police were nearby, he said, but they utterly failed to rescue the girl. According to one of 3 uniformed members of the Department of State, I'm going to stop the story there. So while you're talking about what goes on in countries, this is the danger of what happens when Christians are the victim of political correctness and mob democracy. I don't trust government unless the government is influenced by Christians. I don't trust government without Christians being in government because they'll sell you out. Certainly Nigeria has a stain they should be dealing with. And I want you to know about that. Epoch Times. See, you wouldn't get that, but I'm glad that they put that story out there. Now, here's the story I did want to jump on here that some of you might not have known. Marco Rubio accuses Google of election bias. Get this. This ought to make you mad. Senator Marco Rubio, Florida, blamed Google for allegedly filtering his emails to supporters in the run-up to the midterms this fall, describing his current situation as being in purgatory. The senator says that up to 90% of his campaign emails to supporters with a registered Gmail address never reach their inboxes. Instead, they go to spam folders. He said this began after Representative Val Demings, a Democrat in Florida, announced a year ago she was going to run against him. From that moment, the Google progressives that run Google started blocking the distribution of it. If I was you in any position of conservative or Christian media, get off of Google. And I'll tell you what, I'm not so sure where to send them. I don't know where to send it, but don't do Gmail because they will. They'll spam filter it. They'll block it. These guys are dangerous. They're not neutral. They are working with the beast as far as I'm concerned. And they think they're doing God a service, just like Jesus predicted. So the story, any comments, by the way, are you guys aware of the fact that Gmail suppresses and manipulates and that I'll bet you if you do a search on it, you're going to see other people complaining. I think it was Chimp. What's the one, speaking of chimps today, which is the one, MailChimp. Mm-hmm. MailChimp also has a terrible reputation of suppressing communication from conservative organizations to their base. I'll tell you what, you know what's happening? You look at Truth Social, you look at Getter, you look at Gab, you look at Rumble, and what we're going to see is the economic backlash is going to be Americans are going to come up with businesses they are going to start to champion. And it's going to take I'm telling you, it's going to drive 30% of the net value of these corporations in Wall Street into a tailspin. And that's going to be the backlash. Economic as well as branding. When we start getting our message out, they're going to have a branding backlash. It's the only way you're going to get their attention, folks, is you got to crack the whip on their image publicly and their pocketbook. Because that's how they do it. By the way, that's legitimate, good Christian sportsmanship. You got to score points by making the other side pay by exposing the truth. That bothers me. Anyway, that news was important. And one other piece of information, which I don't think has been covered adequately, but Epoch Times is covering this stuff. This is what I mean by the right kind of news sources. For 6 years, there's a woman who's been battling for her life in Colorado. Colorado got taken over by the Soros machinery. Remember, we got George Soros. Here's George riding the Tyrannosaurus. And so George and the left, they took over Colorado. They targeted it because it was such a strong red state. At one time, it had Focus on the Family, and it had Ted Haggard, and it had Colorado Springs was a bastion of Christian influence. So they decided to turn it. There's a great book called The Blueprint. Go get the blueprint. If you're a student of mine, you want to know where I got the smarts on this stuff, I read what people sent me. And it explained how they took over the machinery of politics in Colorado by getting 4 multimillionaires together. 4 multimillionaires got together, and they each had a pet project. One was transgenderism and homosexual rights. The other one was environmentalism. The other one was open borders. And the fourth was some other cause. But they decided they'd pool their money to take over every office in Colorado. And then they created news media. They started news companies. They started social media companies. Then they organized 2 groups of lawyers to do lawsuits and 4 groups of activists that went door to door to door to stir up public opinion and get people voting for their candidates, all of who were there to displace anyone who was Republican with anyone Democrat to take over power in the state and then to take over legislation in the state. Andrew Womack and Christians, David Barton, and various others have risen up. You can go to truthandliberty.com or .net. You want to check that out. It's a powerful source site that I helped Andrew launch on pushback with our own apparatus in Colorado. And we're starting to see that state that was solidly red, that turned blue, now becoming purple, and I predict tilting back to red once the people are educated. So let me tell you what's going on in Colorado. Christian designer fears for her life as case heads to Supreme Court. Colorado-based website designer receives death threats over her Supreme Court-bound religious freedom case that the Alliance Defending Freedom is representing. Lori Smith left the corporate world in 2012 to form her own website design firm, 303 Creative, which was flourishing. Isn't that great? Christian lady starts her own business, Mercedes, kind of like you, starts something up. But she was, I would say, target. What the left does is they target you to see if you comply. And if you don't, they loose the dogs of war, PR, LGBT activists, and lawyers to make you kneel. And so they, in 2016, she was asked to create a design conveying a same-sex marriage message, and that it violated her Christian faith. So as an entrepreneur, using her skills as a web designer, she declined to do so. And when it became clear that a Colorado public accommodation law, that's how the left does. They get legislators that pass laws that strangle your religious freedom. When it was being applied to force her to create messages for the LGBT community, whether she liked it or not, she and other Coloradans didn't support it. And yet she was facing harsh penalties. So she had to decide to go to court against the statute because they're going to punish her, fine her, put her out of business. So she turned to the federal court. We go to page 8. Have you heard about this case yet, Mercedes?
Mm-mm.
That's why we cover the news the way we do. So she wants her First Amendment freedom to just simply be able to say, if I'm a Muslim, I don't want to be promoting something I don't believe in. Now Smith fears for her life. This is what these guys do. I'm telling you, this is the untold story you need to know. She fears for her life as she awaits the slow turning of the wheels of justice due to continuous terrifying harassment, including death threats from activists seeking to suppress her Christian beliefs. She gets phone calls, mail shows up. She has people wish her vile things she can't even repeat, bodily harm. And then, asked if she feared for her life, she said, of course. When you hear things that I've heard, it's terrifying. It definitely makes your skin crawl and the hair in the back of your neck stand up. It's called demons. My clients have been harassed. Now they targeted her clients. How vicious can you get? Now they're making threats to anyone that does business with her. She said the ultimatums have come from the same groups, nonprofits, funded nonprofits, people. They're funded by somebody. And these nonprofits that are funding these groups are targeting her. And they figured out my client's contact information and started harassing them as well. Her comments came on May 18th during a discussion with reporters at the Alliance Defending Freedom headquarters in the nation's capital. And Alliance Defending Freedom is such a great group. You guys catch me here? Stay with me now. This is you that are listening to this podcast. Do you think I should interview Lori Smith? Do you think I should get a hold of Alliance Defending Freedom at the Supreme Court? How about this? We're going to set up an interview with the Alliance Defending Freedom so you can hear, because you guys got one additional power. It's the power of prayer. Pray for Lori Smith. She'll be supernaturally covered with grace. And that her clients will be protected from harassment, that she will suffer no business and personal harm. So the Kristen Wagner of Alliance Defending Freedom's general counsel told reporters that Smith had to appeal her case to the Supreme Court despite multiple facts both sides of the litigation agreed on in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. The 10th Circuit ruled against Smith. There's your problem in the courts, people. They ruled against her in favor of the Colorado Civil Rights Commission decision to force her to do what the activists want her to do. Chief Judge Timothy Timkovich dissented, calling the majority opinion unprecedented and staggering because the Constitution protects Mrs. Smith from the government telling her what she can say and what she cannot say. Though I am loath to reference Orwell, the majority's opinion endorses substantial government interference in matters of speech, religion, and conscience, Timkovich said. Indeed, this case represents another chapter in the growing disconnect between the Constitution's endorsement of pluralism of belief on the one hand and anti-discrimination laws restricting of religious-based speech in the marketplace on the other. In other words, in Colorado, you have a Christian who is being targeted by evil activists pushing the LGBT compliance in litigation, in legislation, targeting Christians to make them bow the knee. And it's going to the Supreme Court. Those are the stories you're not going to be hearing on the news. And I don't mean to stir you up in a negative way. I'm just trying to let you know what time it is. And it's the time for the populist movement to rise up, because the only way that you're going to see a sweeping of this is if we get equally mobilized for litigation, which is why, and legislation. Hate to say it, it's the two L's. You're going to have to litigate, you're going to have legal defense, and you're going to have to legislate. You're going to have laws that protect you. That's why the populist movement is going to only increase in power, and we're going to have a window coming up in November that is going to sweep the table, and we have to know how to occupy the territory taken. Because if you win in the elections and you don't occupy the ground, I told you last week how the Washington Generals and the Harlem Globetrotters work together. The Republicans and Democrats will screw you over unless you take charge. That's just the way that goes. Any thoughts over there? Anybody got some comments before I switch subjects here?
Yeah, in Colorado, homosexuals are considered a protected class. And so because of that, in public accommodations, protected, let's see where it says here. Prohibited discriminatory practice in places of public accommodation include these adverse actions: denial of service, terms and conditions, unequal treatment, failure to accommodate, and retaliation. And this includes places like restaurants, hospital, hotels, retail stores, and public transportation, among others. Yeah,
there's gonna have to be a real national conversation. I think we gotta not have it. I don't know when we're gonna have it.
Wait, but why national?
Well, because these policies, Colorado is the petri dish. And what they did in Colorado, they've exported to all the other states. So if you read the blueprint, everything that worked in Colorado, they're now doing in all the other states. So it becomes the super spreader state for all policies that can target Christians, conservatives, and freedom of speech and religion, and litigate or prosecute or legislate against freedom. So that Colorado is where the proof of the context is, and they take it from there to other states.
Right, but I'm very much on the side of states' rights versus a federal, consolidated, centralized power. So you said this has to be a national conversation.
Yes, a national conversation, because every state needs to understand how they do this.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, as I'm thinking about this, I'm going to hit one more subject that's important, and that is Epoch Times. Hold on a second. Epoch mentioned something, and this is why I love these guys, because they bring stuff up that nobody else brings up. We have 10 weeks. Mercedes, we've got 10 weeks until the supply chain experiences no more wheat. So we have a 10-week supply of wheat. And, you know, you're hearing about what happened in Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe. That's shut down. Then you're seeing Russia monkey around with exports of grain from Russia. So it gradually works its way over into the U.S. economy. But right now, with 10 weeks out, until we have serious supply chain issues. And I suppose the wheat products is going to be, I mean, imagine how this is going to impact every sandwich you buy, every Chick-fil-A, every burger. It's going to be quite amazing. I don't think we've really even done an analysis of how this is going to hit us. But you've been doing some interesting, but for months, we've been looking at the economic adjustment and how to prepare for it, and the food production disruption. And you've come up with something which I think is amazing. Early on in your house, you've been growing your own garden. And I first saw this in Singapore, and I thought it was so sci-fi. It was about, in Taiwan and in Singapore, these guys were growing vegetables on their roofs. They're so advanced. And in their offices, on tables, they would literally have seeds on these, I couldn't understand it. It was like carpet almost, but it was green. They had lights and they had irrigation, and in the office they were growing. But that's exactly what you're doing, indoor farm production. So tell people what it is real quick, what you've done.
Yeah, I know. I have been talking about this for weeks, Lance, and so I'm really excited about it. I'm going to have the team put on the screen where we're at, because if you're following along online like this, you can see week by week, we've gone from tiny baby seedlings to just overflowing lush green garden in our conference room. And it literally takes me like 30 minutes a week. What I really want to do is one day just have you go live and show me like filling this tank up with all sorts of stuff. So anyways, this is what it looks like. But if you come back to me in the control room, you can see right next to me, this is where we're at with our, this is butter lettuce. Can you believe that? So I'm going to let the team.
That's butter lettuce.
Yes, butter lettuce. So these are great for like wraps, or if you want to do like a healthy burger instead of like, you know, doing wheat or like a wheat bun.
You can
because
literally,
apparently we only have 10 weeks left. So get used to lettuce burgers.
but you can literally pluck that right off and eat it right off the shelf in an office.
Yeah, no, you totally can. You totally can. So I just pulled that out today so the team can take it home. But I really think it's fantastic. I think everybody should go check it out. You want to go to lancewallnau.com/garden. I know a lot of you have been kind of listening and seeing the growth over the past couple of weeks. So I hope this shows you like proof is in the pudding/lettuce. Proof is in the lettuce, and you want to go check it out. And so it's lancewallnau.com/garden, and get your own little setup going. You know, you want to be prepared. There's a lot of different things you could be doing just to be sure that you have a plan for you and your family. This is one of those things. Okay. Food supply is another one. We'll talk more about that in different broadcasts, but the word for the hour is prepare in light of all the news that Lance has read in this show. So hopefully you have been educated, updated, informed. You're ready to go out and have these conversations with your friends and family. And you guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in tomorrow's episode.
Thanks for listening to this Lance Wallnau broadcast. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and share the episode.